Indian equity benchmarks recovered from the day's low to end higher, breaking a two-day losing streak. ITC, Airtel and Adani Enterprises led the gains. The Sensex inched closer to the 62,000 level, whereas the Nifty was comfortable above the 18,300 mark. Let's bring you Neeraj Shah with a wrap of all the market action.
Thanks for that. It was a flat day of trade, not too much of a downside, but I must say, despite the Nasdaq looking very strong after the Nvidia guidance, our markets did not kind of catch that flavor. So when we shut shop, the Nasdaq was up about 1.7% higher, but our markets ended absolutely flat. The only respite was that the advance decline was in favor of the advances, which is a good point. And from amongst pockets, I think the one pocket that stood out for me today was hotels. Maybe because the holiday season is at its peak and hotel companies are saying, or hospitality companies are saying, that ARRs are steady and high. Maybe that is helping. Now, on the index, it was a flattish move. Tata Motors was slightly lower. Some other stocks were slightly higher. The real action was beyond the index. So when you look at the top movers, NCC, big gains, up about 7% after the fears around the Karnataka government not stopping payments were dissipated. Tejas Networks moving ahead after the BSNL order that came in for TCS Tejas Duo about 2 or 3 days back. We saw KPIT Tech now move into the 4-figure mark. This is an expensive IT ERD company, but continues to rise and shine back on the back of auto demand. And Indus Towers, brokerages have rated it a new buy, a couple of them overnight, and that stock did really well for itself. Then I was looking at the results impact that came in. So JB Chemicals, 7% higher, extremely strong showing on the numbers. Aptech, big jump in revenues, good margin performance. That stock was up about 5-6%. And from amongst losers was Trident, the terry towel manufacturer, corrected about 4-5% if I'm not wrong. And Strides Pharma had a corrective move as well on the back of the numbers that came out during market hours today. And then some stocks in focus. So starting with Cummins, Chalet Hotels, Z Entertainment and Tata Chemicals, all of which had news flow and reacted duly. Hear out Vijay Kedia as he speaks about his mantra when it comes to investing in new age companies.
You see, in this market, I think there are so many ideas, but you have limited capital, whether you have 1,000 crore or you have 2,000 crore, even 200,000 crore. According to the market size, your money is always lesser than the ideas you can explore in this market. So far, all these ITs and new age technologies are concerned. I have never invested in that, in those companies, the new age technologies. And defense, I had invested in Hindustan Aeronautics 2 years back, but I exited somehow. So far, this green hydrogen and other sector which you mentioned, so I haven't bought any shares so far. Of course, I am watching all those, all these sectors, because there is a quote of mine that stay invested in a sunrise sector and stay out of a sunset sector at any cost. So according to those principles, all these sectors are always there in my mind, on my radar, but I haven't bought. But of course, I have bought, like I am invested in, I think that the capex theory in India has just started. Okay, this we had been waiting for last 2, 3 or maybe 4 years. कि अभी चालू होगा, लेकिन एक दिन तो भेड़िया आता ही है ना. So this is what I think, and all this infrastructure, manufacturing or capex, whatever you call it, the story has begun.
Any reason why, I mean, if you can share, I don't want to ask you something that you can't share, but is there a reason why you maybe got out of a premier defense stock? Was it valuations? Was it something else? Did you need the money for a better idea? What was it?
No, as I told you, I have a habit, I have a bad habit. And the habit is that unless I buy at least 1% of a company, I can't hold the shares for long term. So it could be bad or good, I don't know, but I am happy with that. That makes me feel that I'm committed to the company. You know, if I am having 2-3% of a company, it makes me feel that I'm committed. And if I am having some 1/4% or 0.5% and all, so those I keep like a reserve, you can say, that whenever I will get some good idea, I will sell the shares. In this process, I may go wrong also, like Hindustan Aeronautics gave a handsome return even after I sold.
A curious case of alleged 81 bonds mis-selling by HDFC Bank has come to light. Pankaj Sinha, working multinational fast-moving consumer goods brands, has filed a police complaint with the Gurugram police against the private lender. So what are 81 bonds and how, and what has been the timeline of events in this case? Vishwanath Nair has the details.
A customer of HDFC Bank who has been banking with the private sector lender for over 24 years has now filed a police complaint with the Gurugram police station. He is alleging that HDFC Bank missold certain financial instruments to him, which led to him losing more than $200,000 of his savings. Now, what exactly happened here is that two employees of HDFC Bank essentially sold additional Tier 1 bonds issued by Credit Suisse as well as some other foreign banks to this customer who then did not know that these were additional Tier 1 bonds. The employees of the bank sold these instruments to him in the form of super FDs, and he was informed that his capital would remain protected and that he would receive a high return on these investments. Of course, the customer was not fully aware about additional Tier 1 bonds and the risks involved in these bonds. Remember that 81 bonds are essentially instruments which are quasi-equity and quasi-debt in nature. They're a hybrid instrument. They have a perpetual life, which essentially means that the investment once made will continue to generate returns for the entire life of the institution or of the investor, of course. Essentially what this means is that once that money has been invested in these bonds, unless the bank decides to return that money to the investor will not get his principal back. Now, these crucial points of information were not shared with his customer, and the customer claims that he was missold these products and that the bank as well as his employees are liable to pay him back. Of course, this is a police complaint and so far no action has been taken. HDFC Bank on its part has remained silent. It did not respond to queries sent out by BQ Prime, and as of now, things are pretty much status quo.
Titagarh Rail Systems has risen by about 12% intraday and has hit an all-time high in trade today after posting a spectacular set of Q4 numbers. The revenue shot up by over 130% with profit soaring to 114%. The Vice Chairperson and Managing Director Umesh Chaudhary spoke to Hiral Dadia about their expansion plans for the next few years.
We started the coach plant with the capacity of just about 20 coaches which is 200 to 240 coaches a year. With the Bangalore metro contract through CRRC coming our way, we decided to enhance it to about 36 coaches. Now with the Vande Bharat, we have already, while we were completing the first expansion, we've already taken up the second one, and we are looking at expanding it to about 70 coaches a month. We believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, we should be able to implement this capacity expansion and be at about 700 to 750 coaches a year capacity within the next 2 to 3 years.
The engine maker Cummins India has reported a 61% jump in consolidated profit after tax in the fourth quarter. Domestic sales during the March quarter grew 33% year on year, while exports surged 17%. Neeraj Shah spoke to Ashwath Ram of Cummins India. Listen in.
Yeah, I always draw the analogy to what happened in China between 1990 and 2010. As that country began investing in infrastructure and in creating and growing its own economy, it created 20 years of continuous growth for businesses like Cummins because they built the infrastructure, they scaled it up, they built buildings, they built factories, they built capability, they created jobs, and they created growth. If we continue with our aspiration and the trends that we see, this 6 to 7% growth, which can only improve, it can't get worse. If we continue this journey of wanting to be a top 3 player in the world, I think we have to undergo a similar kind of infrastructure journey. And every aspect of that infrastructure journey is good for Cummins from a growth perspective. So I remain, while quarter on quarter, I remain cautious, but from a medium to long-term perspective, I'm extremely optimistic that the opportunities are just increasing.
The Garden Reach Shipbuilders March quarter net profit has jumped 17%. The chairman and managing director PR Hari decodes the March quarter earnings and shares the growth outlook for the financial year 2024.
There are 4 different shipyards, one Cochin shipyard, another PSU shipyard. There are 5 of us from the government segment, L&T, a couple of more private players. So the field I'm only looking at the major platforms, that is FPV and above, and narrows down to these 7 players.
Yeah, for 7 players. Yeah.
Each has got 7 players. So each has got 6 to 7 players, I'd put it like this. Each has got certain strengths, certain weaknesses, certain capacities. We are all aware of, each is aware of the other's capacity and the constraints. To put it in I certainly would not be able to give you both the estimates, but I'll give you a general idea. The total order value, I'll just go to the conservative bracket. Let us take 85,000 crore orders likely to come up in the next 3 to 5 years. Mental calculation, any one of us could get a even pie.